This is assignment 1, part 5. So our first topic today is completing the square. So typically when we talk about quadratics, this is our A, this is our B, and this is our C. To find the number that goes in this box to complete the square, what we take is we take B divided by 2 and we square it. So in this problem, I'm going to take negative 16 divided by 2. That's negative 8. And then we're going to square negative 8. Negative 8 times negative 8 is 64. So 64 goes in that is the answer to this first problem. Now, if you'd like to try this problem, go ahead, pause it. I'm going to continue on. Okay, so here's our B, 12. We take 12 divided by 2, that's 6. And 6 squared is 36. So that's our answer for number 2. It's 36. Okay. This is a technique that we will be using soon. We'll solve by completing the square, where we have to use this technique to solve an equation. Okay. And that is your next topic. Solving a quadratic equation by completing the square. They want exact answers, so you need to give your answer with a square root if need be. All right, so here's how I do this problem. The first thing I do is I move this C over to the other side. Now, there's different ways of explaining this. Different books do this different ways. Different videos show this different ways. So it's plus 38. I move it to the other side. And now, just like before, we're going to do the B squared, the B over 2 and square it. So 14 over 2 is 7. I'm going to put a little star by that because we're going to need that later. And then 7 squared is 49. So just like before, we're going to, remember how 49 went in that box before? We're going to add 49 to both sides. So we're going to get x squared plus 14x plus 49 equals negative 38 plus 49. And the reason for doing this becomes a perfect square. So we can this is a factorable trinomial. Okay. So what multiplies out to 49 that adds up to 14? It has to be the same number. Well, here it is right here. That's the key. That's what goes over here. So we get x plus 7, x plus 7 equals 49 minus 38 is 11. But we write this a special way. We're going to write this as x plus 7 squared equals 11. So that 7 goes there. If this is a positive 7, it's a plus here. If this happened to be a negative 7, you would put a minus 7 here. So for this first one, I know it's a little hard to see. That's a plus. That's a minus there. We would pick this one. We would put 7 here, and we would put 11 here. Okay, so I know it's hard to see. So 7 goes there, 11 goes there just from this piece. Now we have to finish solving it. So to get rid of a square root, we square root both sides. So we get x plus 7 equals plus or minus, don't forget the plus or minus because it's two answers, square root of 11. And then we subtract 7. Negative 7 plus or minus square root 11. And now, if there's a plus minus button in Alex, you can just hit the plus minus. If not, you might have to, doesn't matter which one you put first, you might have to list both answers if there's not a plus minus button in Alex. Okay, so your answer, this is two solutions. You might have to write it like this. That goes in your solution. So it'd be the -7 plus or minus square root of 11. So let's move on to another. All right, if you'd like to pause this and try it, go ahead. I'm going to do the problem. So we got to figure out what format is it and then the answer. So now once you know what to do here, you don't have to show every little step. So I'm going to take the -12, that's our b, divided by 2, -6, and -6 squared is 36. Remember, this is the important piece. So we're going to get, you could skip over this step if you like. I'm going to subtract 6 from here. Going to add 36 to there. And I had to subtract 26 from both sides, so minus 26, and I put the plus 36 here. So now I get, here's that important piece. X minus 6 all squared equals 10. Okay. So this one, we're going to select this one this time. So you're going to put a 6 in here and a 10 over there. Now let's finish solving. Take the square root of both sides, plus or minus all the time, don't forget that, and then add 6 to both sides. And those are your two answers. Nothing can be broken down. You want to check, it said simplify your answer. Okay, so maybe in this section there's no simplification. Just make sure that this is simplified. 10 can't be broken down, so we're all good. And maybe you have to write it as two different answers. Maybe there's a plus or minus. All right, next we're going to apply the quadratic formula, exact answers. Okay, that's our next topic here. Okay, so when an equation is in the form of a quadratic ax squared plus bx plus c, we could use the quadratic formula. -b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. That's a very common mistake. People just put this part over 2a, the whole thing, big long fraction line all over 2a. Okay? So in this problem we have A, we have B, and we have C. So it's the opposite of -2. You can just write that as -2. You can skip a step. So B goes in there, which happened to be positive. B squared, so 2 squared minus 4 times A, which is 5, times C, which is -4, all over 2 times 5. Okay. So we get -2 plus or minus the square root. You can use a calculator for this. This is -20, that's 80, that's 84. So I know we can break this one down. So all over 10. So sometimes Alex wants us to break these answers down. So 84. If I want to break that down, I got to figure out what's the biggest perfect square that goes into 84. Okay, so I believe we got 4. 16, 36, 42. Give me a second here, just doing a calculation. I'm still with you. 84 divided by 16. Okay, so I think it's just 4 here, so that square root of 84, the biggest perfect square that goes into 84, I'll have to check 8 because it's, no, well, 64 doesn't go into 84. So this square root, sorry, my program's giving me a problem, times 21. So this is 2 square root 21. You get negative 2 plus or minus 2, because that's square root of 4, square root 21 over 10. But then we can reduce this to negative 1/5 plus or minus square root of 21 over 5. Or you can, another option for an answer, depending on which way Alex wants it, it could be negative 1 plus or minus square root 21 over 5. Because you can, they're both 2 over 10, so you can simplify them to 1 over 5, 1 over 5. So either answer should be good. You might have to write them with a comma and 2 answers. So the quadratic formula part isn't that bad. Probably the simplifying is the harder part. Let's take a look at another problem. Last problem. If you'd like to try this, go ahead. Pause it. I'm going to continue. All right. So once again, we have our E, we have our B, and we have our C. So negative B, negative 1 times 6 is negative 6. You can shortcut that if you want. 6 squared minus 4 times A times C. Be careful. If your B value's ever negative, you should put this in parentheses or your calculator might give you a wrong answer. Okay. So 2 times 2 is 4. So we get negative 6 plus or minus, okay, 36 minus 24, that's 12. Looks like that one's going to reduce again. So 36 minus 24, yeah, it gives you 12. All over 4. So I'm going to break down that square root of 12. Square root of 12, the biggest perfect square that goes into 12 is 4. All right, so we can write this as negative 6 plus or minus 2 radical 3 over 4. And I like separating it. Negative 6 over 4 plus or minus 2 radical 3 over 4. So I get, this reduces to negative 3 halves. The negative can go in front or on top. Plus or minus, the 2 over 4 reduces to 1/2. So 1 radical 3 over 2. And that 1 is optional. You don't have to write the 1 in there. Just trying to show you where it comes from. All right. All right, so that concludes this video.